Hello, listeners, and welcome to today's Cult News. I'm your speaker, Casey, and for this installment, I am bringing you a deep dive on the recent assassination of the former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, a historical event that has links to the Unification Church, also known as the Moonies. So let's get into it. The Unification Church, also known as the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, is a religious movement founded by Sun Myung Moon in South Korea in 1954. The movement is often referred to as the Moonies due to the founder's name. The Unification Church teaches a unique theology that combines elements of Christianity with Moon's own revelations and interpretations. Moon claimed to be the Messiah and believed that he was fulfilling Jesus's unfinished mission to establish a perfect ideal family and bring about world peace. According to the teachings of the Unification Church, Moon's marriage to his wife, Hak Ja-hun, in 1960 was the true parent's blessing, which they believe is central to the salvation of humanity. The Unification Church has faced controversy and criticism over certain practices and beliefs, including allegations of cult-like behavior, Sun Myung Moon having a load of illegitimate children, brainwashing, financial exploitation, and trafficking. However, the movement also has a significant number of dedicated followers who view Moon as the Messiah and believe in his teachings. The Unification Church has members all over the world and is known for its distinctive mass weddings, which are considered part of the true parent's blessing in the movement's theology. It is the most recognizable picture I think most of us will have seen. If you've seen a picture of one of these mass weddings, it's a sea of people all dressed in the same color with splashes of red in the background. It is actually quite something to see. The true parent's blessing is a central ceremony in the Unification Church, which is believed to bestow God's blessing upon couples who participate in it. According to the Unification Church's teachings, Adam and Eve were meant to be the true parents of humanity. But their fall from grace, as in them having sex, led to the need for a new Adam and Eve to restore humanity to its original state. And these two people, this new Adam and Eve, was Sun Myung Moon and his wife Hak Ja-hun, even though Sun Myung Moon was allegedly off having sex with loads of people and blessing their wombs and cleansing their wombs or other excuses that apparently were made. But apparently, Sun Myung Moon and Hak Ja-hun are believed to be the new true parents, and their marriage in 1960 is seen within the church as the starting point for the restoration of humanity. As part of the true parents' blessing, the Unification Church encourages its members to participate in mass weddings, where couples are matched and married by Sun Myung Moon or his wife Hak Ja-hun. So I've heard it said in certain interviews that it's likely that Sun Myung Moon has pictures of men on one side and pictures of women on the other, and he just says, you and you, you and you, you and you. And that assumption comes from certain people that I've spoken to on the show who say that they were paired with people vastly younger or older than themselves. These mass weddings often involve thousands of couples from around the world who all come together in America, and it's seen as a way to fulfill the ideal family as envisioned by the Unification Church. The practice of mass weddings in the Unification Church has been controversial and has drawn criticism from the public. Some view it as a unique expression of the movement's teachings on family values, but most criticize it as a form of coercion or forced marriage or control over members' personal lives. One of the main expectations about these marriages is that couples who are paired by true parents will go on to have children, the second and third generation and so on, members of the Unification Church. The children that are born out of marriages that come from true parents, these children are referred to as blessed children. And they are believed by the Unification Church to be born without original sin because their parents' unity came from true parents who are Adam and Eve. They are believed by the Unification Church to be born without original sin and have a special role in carrying forward the mission of true parents. It's worth noting that testimony from former members details how children born into the Unification Church are expected to participate in the same manner that adults are. And this includes, from first-person testimony, things like human trafficking, slave labor, financial abuse, spiritual abuse and trauma, and the weaponizing of families, as well as separating children from their parents. Children born inside of marriages blessed by the Unification Church are blessed children, and children who are already born when their parents join are known as Jacob's children, already causing an internal divide. Something Elgin Strait said to me, a former member of the Unification Church and host of the Falling Out podcast, was that he believes a potential motivation behind pairing individuals from different parts of the world in mass weddings is to allow the spouse's passage into other countries, like green card arrangements, if you will, where children who are born with dual citizenships are able to move from country to country, essentially being labor trafficked to generate money for the church. And of course, this is speculation in conversation, but I thought it was a very striking and interesting thing to hear. Over the years, the Unification Church has undergone several changes in leadership and organizational structure. Sung Myung Moon passed away in 2012, and his wife Hak Ja Hun has since assumed leadership of the movement. And one of Moon's children, Sean Moon, broke away from his parents' group to start his own right-wing gun-toting group in Pennsylvania named the Rod of Iron Ministries. And according to Business Insider, it exists on a 130-acre plot where AR-15s are an integral part of the religious group's teachings, with Sean Moon donning a crown of bullets and spewing potentially dangerous conspiratorial views and creating a somewhat insular environment. Why am I giving an overview of the Unification Church? Well, on the 8th of July 2022, former Prime Minister of Japan was shot and killed during an election campaign outside of a railway station in Nara, Japan in broad daylight. According to The Guardian, the former Prime Minister resigned in 2020, but 2 days before an election where he was offering support for certain politicians, the news of Abe's assassination rocked the country. It wasn't until a little while later that more information about the shooter's identity and motivations became clear. Fumio Kishida, the current Japanese Prime Minister, offered positive sentiments of great leadership and the country's deepest sympathies for Abe's family during this time. Current American President Joe Biden also offered similar sentiments, saying how gun crime leaves permanent scars. CBS reported that Tetsuya Yamagami was arrested immediately following the shooting, which he carried out with a handmade gun. Yamagami admitted to his crimes instantly upon arrest, telling police that he was the person that shot and killed Abe, due to Abe's links to a prolific religious group. It then came out that Yamagami's mother was a long-standing member of the Unification Church, and she had given huge sums of money to the church during his lifetime, leaving them to live a life of poverty and struggle. There were also details of Abe taking money from the Unification Church to allow the Moonies certain exemptions, which in turn allows further abuse and exploitation. Shockingly, PM Kishida took a keen look into this situation and the motivations behind the shootings, and instead of dismissing it as a simple grudge gone too far or someone simply suffering with ill mental health or even a combination of the two, Kishida launched an all-out investigation into the tactics employed by the Unification Church within Japan, finding that many families were being coerced and pressured, with consequences, to give large sums of money to the church, leaving themselves bereft. In November 2022, Kishida announced proposals to bring in new laws to make financial coercion a criminal act, and in December 2022, it actually happened. This feels like one of the most progressive steps against coercion used by religious groups that I've personally seen in my lifetime. According to PBS, the new law allows believers, other donors, and their families to seek the return of their money and prohibits religious groups and other organizations from soliciting funds by coercion, threats, or linking donations to spiritual salvation. So it's now illegal for the Unification Church and other religious groups to coerce and pressure members into tithing and donating and perhaps even going out to be labor trafficked within Japan. Kishida, who has heard from former adherents' experience, described their sufferings as ghastly and praised the law as a bipartisan effort to help the victims and their families. And there has also been talk that the damaging religious group may even be outlawed in Japan, although at this point this is just speculation. The most recent news around the assassination of Shinzo Abe is that shooter Tetsuya Yamagami has been indicted and charged awaiting sentencing, but has been in the news this week for talking out, hoping that him taking the life of another man will offer relief for the Unification Church victims, according to the Japan Times. And included in that article came to light the real motivations for Yamagami assassinating Shinzo Abe, where he told investigators that he had a grudge against the Unification Church and targeted Abe because he was a grandson of former Prime Minister Nobusuke Kishi, who helped the group launch in Japan. It also came to light that his mother donated at least 100 million yen to the religious group. That is the end of today's cult news. If you found this content helpful or interesting, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button and join me tomorrow for more cult news. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast.